When I was younger, I used to be able to make my computer turn on, and I used to believe that my grandma's spirit was in my room, letting me know that she was here, protecting me at one of my lowest points in my life. I go into this very deep meditative state. She was always in the computer, and as a result of me thinking she was there, the computer would turn on until I was happy that she was here, and I go to bed, knowing that my guardian angel was here.
I believe also we're moving into a new wave of a new era. Okay, we've got the era of AI. And AI is going to take over a lot of people's jobs, whether we like it or not. So the only way for humanity, especially our new generation, to thrive and evolve is if they focus on the right brain, which is what sets us apart from the robots. The human being's right brain consciousness, okay, is the one that's tapped into source, is what gives us the divine connection.
And especially in London.
Yeah.
Everything is just so fast paced. You're on the tube and no one's saying hello, no one's even looking at each other. Middle of London, a place like this, is literally the dream for people in London who are like this, who are longing for that connection that they would go to Bali and Thailand and India for.
Yes.
We shouldn't have to go across the flipping world to find simply a connection who understands the importance of sunlight and grounding and healthy water. Instead, you've got to find someone's got to create something like this. See that, but that's the way it is. Just quickly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who still listens to the podcast. I started 4 years ago, and since then I've had over 1 million downloads. I get 5,000 downloads per month, and I've had over 200 different guests. So a massive thank you to everyone who still listens. If you could please do me a favour, if you could rate and review the podcast, that would be amazing because it helps get the podcast out to new, conscious people like yourself. And my goal is to awaken as many people around the world. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's YesKingOliver. Should you wish to see what I get up to on my day-to-day moments. Back to the episode. So as you know, when I was younger, I used to be able to make my computer turn on, and I used to believe that my grandma's spirit was in my room, letting me know that she was here, protecting me at one of my lowest points in my life. And every night I'd lay in my bed, I'd go into this very deep meditative state, which I now know is meditation. Didn't realise what it was called then. I was just being so still and listening to where she was. She was always in the computer, and as a result of me thinking she was there, the computer would turn on, and I was able to hold that frequency or feeling of her being there until I was happy that she was here. And then almost like I would just have a deep breath out and the energy would drop, the computer would turn on, and I go to bed, knowing that my guardian angel was here. And you were talking about how people with the likes of autism and people that spend a lot of time in their head thinking and working out stuff have a different resonance with their thoughts, and therefore they're able to tune into stuff and pick up on stuff that other people who are considered as normal aren't able to do.
So yeah, let me explain a bit about that. So what you're saying about being in your head, okay? Now, what you're actually in is a certain part of the head, which is more deeply connected, right, with your intuition. So this is what you share with certain autistic kids. So there's another podcast that went very viral recently called the Telepathy Tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about these non-verbal, they're not able to speak kids, okay, and some of them are young adults, right, who have these incredible powers of telepathy, mind reading, remote viewing, even like they're like idiot savants, some of them, like that whole thing of like super genius talents, like photographic memories, being able to like learn languages they haven't even taught. Like one kid learned Portuguese, hieroglyphics, Hebrew, and some other crazy like rare languages without actually having any kind of connection to them. So they're tapped into some other level of mind. Okay, so where is the mind? Never mind. We always assume the mind is in our brain, but it's not true. Okay, there's different levels of mind. So what what they have in common, think about it, they're non-verbal, they don't speak. So we have a speaking part of the mind that allows us to communicate, right? This part of the mind is part of the neocortex, it's the conscious mind, okay? And this is the part of the brain that we could also interpret as the brain's version of the ego. It comes from the default mode network, okay? And the default mode network, when you do things like psychedelics, goes completely offline. When you do deep meditative practices, goes offline. When you do sonar breath, like our meditative breath journeys, goes offline. And what that does is it quietens down the speaking part of the mind. The speaking part of the mind, right, is the part, okay, that creates tension in the body and also turns off the right brain activity that gives us this super intuition, this super consciousness. And you're like kind of explaining kind of results that to other people might seem very strange and weird, okay? But I've seen with my own eyes, okay? There's a crazy story involving the telepathy tapes as well. So I went to India in search of real magic after meeting a guy called Uri Geller. So Uri Geller is a famous guy. He's Ben Spoons, right? With his mind power. So it has some strange ability, or it could be magic tricks. Who knows? But I did witness very strange things around Uri, and he's got a very strong presence, very high level of charisma and ability to connect, right? So, and he's definitely a master manifestor. He when I went to his house, he had this full-on White House, like it's huge, like looks like the White House in America, and he had his best man was Michael Jackson. He had all these A-list celebrity friends. He was a secret spy for the Mossad, CIA, and he was genuinely proven by Stanford Research Institute to have genuine psychic mind powers. So I went on a crazy journey manifesting Uri Geller into my life. But as a result of that, I actually wanted to discover real magic, like in India. Like I wanted to go and see the powers that the tantric masters like talk about, right? And the siddhi powers, to see any evidence of it. So me and my one of my best friends at the time, John Vincent, he is a card magician, professional, like sleight of hand, like Darren Brown. He can do all these kind of mentalist tricks. And he showed me how you can fake a lot of the superpowers that these people possess, apparently. So I said, let's go together because we'll be able to debunk all the charlatans. So we went, it's crazy adventure, and we saw a lot of fakeness, a lot of fakery, right? So we were a little bit disillusioned, but we were going to in just ask this one guy. This one guy is a memory master. He had thousands. He could memorize thousands of numbers, and recite, the orders of them and weird stuff, like weird magic. So like maybe he knows. A guy called DP Mahesha, if he knows anything, any clues. So we went there and he goes, okay, let me show you something. So he showed me this after school workshops of children who within a couple of days get activated through the third eye, right? This super sensory ability where they can see completely blindfolded, they can do remote viewing, they can do crazy accelerated learning and have incredible creativity. The best thing about it is they become more kind, more compassionate, more considerate, and their emotions get more balanced. And they just seem more in control of their life now, right? And just more high vibe. But they have these weird mystical bits. These are like what are described as siddhi powers. So I was like, wow. I didn't believe it at first. So I got him to actually do a workshop and prove it to us. And me and John debunked quite a few kids cheating in the process, but we found 3 kids genuine psychic powers, psychic abilities. And then the guy said, "Look, I told you, it does work. Not in everyone straight away, but it does work." So he said, "But go to Gujarat, which is where I'm from, and you'll see like super X-Men like kids." So I went there, and it was astonishing. The shit that I saw, wild stuff, like weird magic. Like there'll be a kid would be completely blindfolded, completely, And John got them to do the most famous car trick of all, which is separate full deck of cars that we bought off the street, not tampered with, shuffled into red and black perfectly.
Amazing.
And he did it. So we were seeing all this kind of crazy stuff. And we went back to England. We were going to make a school out of this. I activated 3 kids, all right, one of them John's son. So we proved that it worked with just other kids. And it was probably something scalable. So I wanted to add loads of value through education, changing the educational system, right brain education. In fact, Montessori, their first curriculum actually had right brain education. And Maria Montessori talked about these third eye abilities that can be activated in children. So it used to be in their curriculum, but it got taken out later on. Now, here's the thing. So as I was trying to get this out there, I actually managed to get this documentary filmmaker who made Horizon, Dispatches, to actually want to do a documentary on this. I was like, wow, this is amazing. These are my favorite documentaries growing up. So he was behind it. But when he tried to pitch this, none of the media companies wanted to buy into it. So he was like, I don't understand. I can't pitch this. Nobody wants to do it. They didn't want to study or do anything about that something that's scalable. If it was a freaky one-off person, okay, but anything scalable, not into it.
Right.
And then I met Uri Geller because I said to Uri Geller, would you like to support this? It's going to be amazing. And he goes, no, whatever you do, do not do this because the media will destroy you. You'll lose all your credibility and all, so on and so forth. So he wouldn't support it. And then I got this weird third sign where I read this customer support email for one of my websites. And I don't usually always like have time to read all of them, but I've decided to read this one. And this lady wanted to tell me that she had a dream and she really needed to speak to me. So I was like, well, I wouldn't normally, it could be just a scam. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. Called her up and she tells me that she had a crazy dream where she saw kids going into the Vatican, indigo colored, and coming out like zombies. And our school was going to be called Indigo because of the Indigo kids. We're going to call it Indigo. So I was like, wait a minute, that's spooky as hell. So then I decided, like, I'm not sure if the world's ready for this yet. But then I met Wim Hof, became his like right-hand man, made all this music with Wim Hof, and then so on, loads of crazy stuff. I got distracted by something even more powerful. That was real magic. The stuff I saw Wim do was real magic. The way I healed myself from my disease back then, this is real magic, and this is stuff that's scalable. So I was like, I'm going to focus on that. This is real magic. We don't need to go into hocus pocus, mystical stuff that scientists want to debunk. This is undebunkable, right? There's real science here. So I was like, I'll focus on that. Then, now recently, I've got back into it because Telepathy Takes podcast went super viral. And when I was listening to it, there's a scientist in there called Jeff Tarrant. And I was like, hold on a minute, this is Jeff. And Jeff is the guy who studied soma breath and was the one, his science is what inspired Cambridge University to do a deeper study with us. So I was like, well, I'm going to reach out to Jeff. So I reached out to Jeff, we reconnected, told him all the stuff about the psychic kids and all that. And he goes, mate, we're going to collaborate and do this big project that you always dreamed of, create the centers with the school and the education. And now the telepathy tapes has blown up, so there's a lot more awareness for this, and we can ride that wave, and so there's a whole kind of coming full circle right now that's happening. But it just shows you that the human potential, man, is much greater than we think.
Do you think that there is a real demand, but when you talk about like the other forces out there that want to stop this natural source stuff becoming mainstream, the healing Tourette story and basically meditation and all the routines that I still have to do to keep my body and nervous system grounded, is that something that is scalable? Because how many people around the world have mental health issues and ADHD and dyslexia as a result of just overstimulation of everything in this world? There is a huge demand for it and it can heal so many people. But then, as you say, there's another force out there which doesn't want this type of natural, holistic, psilocybin ways of healing to come out there. So that might be unconsciously one of the reasons why I've not really done anything with it since, because I know that there's a force out there that may come down, but is it worth still trying,
I think we live in a world now where it's much different to back in the day when they were easy able to suppress stuff, because now we have the internet and it's changed the game and it's so much harder to control, right? The spread of information. And so I believe also we're moving into a new wave of new era. Okay, we've got the era of AI, and AI is going to take over a lot of people's jobs, whether we like it or not. So the only way for humanity, especially our new generation, to thrive and evolve is if they focus on the right brain, which is what sets us apart from the robots. The human being's right brain consciousness, okay, is the one that's tapped into source. It's the one that is what gives us the divine connection, okay? And it's what is the explanation of what you are doing when you are turning on computers and all that, is you're tapping so deep into the right brain. And that's the part of the brain that gets activated more when you go into deep meditative states, because the left brain is the waking conscious state, right? And that part of the brain is what deals with communication, focus, critical thinking, and all that. This part is creativity, it's inspiration, it's art, it's music, it's innovation, it's ideation, it's dreaming big, it's inspiration, right? So our educational system creates robots. It creates human androids almost, right? Where you're so focused on left brain learning, like literally doing just, repeating whatever the teacher says. You're not really stimulating this part of the brain because you're not problem solving, you're not ideating, you're not being creative. There are some schools, our Montessori schools, there's all about right brain education. But the kids who are just left brain, left brain, left brain, and you'll see this in private schools, a lot of private schools, the kids get suppressed. And then there's a lot of focus on classical music, for example, just playing what composers, the real spiritual guys, the ones who are tapped into the right brain, compose, just repeating what they did over and over and over again. So you get really good at repeating what's already been done. But that doesn't make you a truly holistic human, because humans are able to create what hasn't been done before. They're able to see into the future. That's what real artists do, right? They can see the way into the other, right? Into the beyond, the future that hasn't been created yet. They can see what nobody else can see. And this is not possible if you become like a classically trained musician, because classically trained musicians, they lose their creativity, their composition skills. I've worked with them, and like I try and force them to compose, but they can't do it. They get stuck.
Following.
They're just only able to recite what they already know. The more you're trained to do that, right? The less your creativity is being exercised. So I was really fortunate because my dad, when I was 14, gave me a keyboard, right, and left me with it. He didn't give me any lessons, nothing. And what I did was, I just by listening to rave tapes, I figured out how to compose. And I just focused a lot on composition. And my music teacher was all about composition. She was not into classical music training. She knew that that kills art if you just like recite what everybody else has done.
Absolutely.
So she really encouraged me to be creative and compose. And that's what, all those circumstances, what made me into an artist, into a creator, into somebody who can make music that's new and original and different, and then also be able to problem solve, like take the best from this source, take multiple sources of information and create something novel and unique out of it. And that's what the innovators do. And so that's what I think the education system needs to be done, because AI is going to take away all the left brain people. That can do better, and it's doing quite good creativity as well. So unless human beings evolve the next level of consciousness skills, like super creativity, super consciousness, telepathy, like real, like using the mind at the optimum level, like what are humans going to do?
So I found that question. Is now the time to start putting out the story of healing Tourette's through meditation.
100%.
And maybe 5 years before AI, it wasn't the right time, because what you're saying is that because of AI, the left brains are going to essentially die. So now is the time to activate the right brain. And what a amazing story to tell, to inspire others to start using these methods that we've been using for thousands of years that have become lost.
Well,
Which
look what,
activates
yeah,
creativity, which is businesses
yeah.
and how the world's actually run through business and creatives,
Well, here's the good
musicians.
news. This is the good news. We are in a creator economy. We're in a creator economy. That's never been ever done before, where we have platforms where anyone can become, like, get attention. Anyone. It does.
Anything.
It's democratized now. It's decentralized now. The ability to get attention. That's never been possible before. If you just keep putting out like new creative cool stuff, right? One will pop, and that's it. You could be made off one video that goes crazy viral. And now we all have the equal opportunities to be viral. Like, that was never possible before. The control of information was by the media cartels who control the media, the TV, the radio for a long time. Yeah. It was very hard for normal people, everyday people, to rise up. But now we all have the opportunity. That's the beauty of the world we're living in today. There's a lot of amazing entrepreneurs, Elon Musk, you know, Facebook. I'm sorry, I don't like. I'm not the biggest fan, but they've built an incredible platform for being discovered, right? But there's so many of us, the TikTok people. There's so many platforms now you can be discovered. You can build your community, you can get your tribe, and all you need to do, you need to just know your magic number. Who are the amount of people that you need to serve, right, to free your life, where you can create enough income each month, right, where you don't really need to do much work. You're already living it, 4-hour work week, right? You've got it. I had that when I started out around your age, but then I got bigger dreams and ambitions and goals, right? But you're doing it. It's amazing at your age, where you figured out a way to give value through your business, right, to the marketplace, where you only have to work 4 hours a week. When was that ever possible until our time now?
It wasn't possible. And when you think about how AI is going to do a lot of that stuff anyway,
Yeah.
people's weeks are going to go from 4 to 2.
Yes.
And all you then have to do is like refine the chatbot of when new things come up.
Yep.
And it's going to be automatic. And then an AI bot will tell the person who's working for you, okay, the new command for this week is do that.
Yep.
So eventually AI is going to be the PA, and we're going to be like the PA of the PA. You know, we're just doing the task for the AI chatbot versus having somebody who's got a PA and saying do this. But then imagine how much information can go out there in the speed of which an AI chatbot can distribute that information.
Correct.
We're going to all quantum jump into different realms where it simply wasn't possible, as you said, even 5 years ago. And, life is changing, and information and real human depth and wisdom is going to be the next gold mine, because it's what we've all lost. We're all seeking. It's why I create the podcast, for authentic chats, not interview and scripted bollocks, which is the whole point of all of this. Everything's scripted and robotic, and you've got to go to school and get a job and do this. It's just go back to the basics of having a conversation, being around a campfire in nature, playing drums with no time. Eat when you want to eat, sleep when you want to sleep. Really connect back home, which we're all longing for. We're all online, becoming social, trying to find that thing. Ironically, even though we are being social, it is not the actual thing. It's just literally going to your home and getting to know and speaking to people in your local communities, which is why this place and Soul is so incredible, because you have all these incredible people all in the same place, almost like the most ideal village of everyone you could ever want in one place.
Amazing.
And that once you have that community, there is no...
That fills a lot of the desires that people have. So a lot of people, when they're lonely, they do things, they strive for things to fill that void that's in, so which is connection. And connection, once you're in a cool environment, doesn't really cost much. It's just being around cool peeps, right? So, there's something to be said there where sometimes all you need as I said, the difference between what you want and what you need. Sometimes all you need is to be in the right environment of connection and community, and that doesn't always cost much. So I realized this when I was a nomad in the early days. Before I was a nomad, I was like living in England, and I was on my own. I needed to find others like me because all my old mates were all in day jobs. They hated their life. They'd all watch EastEnders and shit and complain about
That's the story that I literally say.
is that we're from the same part of the world, right?
Funny.
So I had to escape that because I didn't feel connection anymore. So then I joined groups, communities online, met amazing people, and that inspired one thing like people like Dave, who's at the back over there. And then that inspired me to travel, and we ended up in Chiang Mai, which was like the digital nomad capital of the world at that point. And that was it. And I was set, and I was in a place called Green Hill Place, which is just like, it's very similar to Ansel, but really cheap. And they had a massage center on, like
£3.
and they had like amazing Thai food, but still like a great community of nomads. They even had a sauna. Great community of nomads, right? All like-minded. And if it wasn't for moving to that, I'd be a very different person right now. That community, and that's what I love about Ansol, is that you brought there's things like this going on in other parts of the world, but bringing it to England where people are so nuclear and disconnected and alone, like people like us, there's so many like people like us who live in little towns and little villages,
Longing for that
longing for it,
connection.
and I don't know where
the
to go.
same.
I don't know where to go.
And especially in London.
Yeah.
Everything is just so fast paced. You're on the tube and no one's saying hello, no one's even looking at each other. Middle of London, a place like this, is literally the dream for people in London who are like this, who are longing for that connection that they would go to Bali and Thailand and India for.
Yes.
We shouldn't have to go across the flipping world to find simply a connection who understands the importance of sunlight and grounding and healthy water. Instead, you've got to find someone's got to create something like this.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be that, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
And like this is what I think is the biggest problem in the world today is this problem of low mood, right? If you suffer from low mood for just 5 days in a row and you go to the doctor and say, I've been suffering from low mood, and they ask you how many days, 5 or 6 days, they'll be like, antidepressant.
Yes.
Straight away prescription.
The devil.
Right? And a lot of people are on antidepressants. 1 in 5 people in America are on antidepressants. So that shows this problem of low mood is huge. Okay?
That's extortionate.
Huge. And how you feel, my theory, the moment you wake up, how you feel dictates the quality of your day, right? So, because everything we do is a result of a feeling, right? Every feeling has a meaning, and it affects our decisions. And the quality of our decisions affects the quality of our actions and results, okay? So, I know the worst decision I've ever made is when I've been hungover, drunk, or just feeling like shit, angry, pissed off, and so on, right? Worst decisions for my body, for my health, for like choices in life, okay, even relationships, right? All result of bad ones have all been a result of feeling low. So people then resort to find ways to pick them up. So they'll, either binge drink, they'll eat foods that aren't healthy, like super sweet to give them a boost. They'll take prescription meds like antidepressants, do things like cocaine, smoke loads of weed, drink alcohol, all of this to give them a temporary lift, right? But that's the problem, it's temporary. There's always that little high, there's always a crash, a come down that is worse than if you just didn't do it in the first place. And when people are doing this constantly, they end up actually feeling lower and lower and lower, and then become addicts who are obsessed and depressed. This is what happened to my life, right? So my thing that really changed my life was having morning rituals and routines and practices like you've got going on at Ansol, like what we just did, breathwork practice, the summer breath journeys, followed by breathing together in a nice in a sauna, and then doing ice baths and doing all these cool yogic techniques and so on. Just that just changes your state. Like it's impossible to feel like shit, right? And do stupid shit after that. Like you just feel so high vibe that now I'm gonna go and have an amazing day today, like because we're about to play at this big festival and headline it. I'm like in my flow state now from doing what we just did this morning, compared to if I didn't. So what I've wanted to do with Summer Breath is to scale what people do first thing in the morning, right? And like a little moments throughout the day that gives them a lift without them having to resort to bad shit. Okay? And I truly believe that if this is what everyone did every day,
Of course.
like what we just did every day, the world would become the most incredible, epic place ever. Everything would just become better because people feel good, and then it'll be like having more empathy, more compassion, it'll be kinder. And it's miserable people who make the world more miserable, right? As I was once. So I want to make people naturally high, happy, and healthy from the start of the day, because that's how we make the butterfly effect that changes the world.
If you had one day left to live, what is the one thing that you would tell the rest of the world?
I already answered that in the last one.
Another one.
Another one thing, okay? That's what it is. Is like, I think this is the biggest problem, is this problem of low mood, right? So really, everything that happens in the world is a result of a feeling, how people feel. So the more people can get in tune with the body, right, with how they feel and where those feelings are stored in the body, the more awareness that you have of that for each person, the more in tune people start to get with their own body. Because we live in a world where the mind has become disconnected from the body. People are either really in their heads or they're really in their body, right? And like what we need to do is bring the harmony between mind, body, and spirit, that alignment. Okay? So the one thing I'll tell the world is to really understand your feelings, because feelings have meanings. And how do we get more feelings of what we want rather than what we don't want, and what we need? Understand what you need versus what you want. So it's not really just one thing, but
Beautiful.
it's a lot of things.
Anything you want to promote or plug before we finish?
So I actually am calling on more instructors. Okay, I want to get. Solar Breath is growing, and we're helping people create new careers. We're helping coaches, therapists, healers to actually add a new modality to what they do already, which is amazing. So I'm calling on people who want to make an impact with fun, enjoyable practices based on science and spirituality, to deliver this way of life to the world, right? Because this Solar Breath-based lifestyle, I think, can really make a big difference and big impact, and you can get a very fulfilling, rewarding career out of it too, if this is what you do, as I've done. So I want to scale my impact, my value, through inspiring like new instructors, attracting therapists, healers, influencers to get involved, and also anyone who wants to help the mission, like, feel free to reach out.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, like the episode, and comment below. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's YesKingOliver. Take a look at the other videos to your side. And if you just want to listen to this podcast, you can do so on Apple and Spotify and most other platforms by going to talkwitholiver.com.